Now, another thing you can support on your entities that honestly is not often used, but I wanted to get you exposed to it anyway here since it does relate to entities as data source objects, is editable object support based on the iEditable object interface. What this is all about is that you may want your objects to be able to back out changes that have been made on multiple properties. The canonical scenario here is that your object is data bound in a data grid. The user goes and changes one field, tabs to the next, makes a change, tabs to the next, makes a change, and then decides, I want to back that out. Data grids support this inherently and allow you to hit the escape key, and they will actually back out those changes in memory separate from the data object itself that it's data bound to. But you may want to support this in something like a data entry form as well, that you want the user to be able to tab from field to field and then maybe hit a cancel button and back all those changes out as well. Additionally, you may have custom logic that needs to execute even in the data grid scenario, that when the changes are backed out, you may need to do other things to related objects, for example. So the way you go about doing this is to simply implement the iEditable object interface on your data source object entity. When you do that, you're going to implement its API, which includes three members. One is a method called beginEdit, and this will be called implicitly for you by a data grid, but you can call it explicitly in the case of a data form. And the concept behind beginEdit is that you're going to save off your original values for the current entity somewhere. That can just be in some temporary member variables within the entity itself, or you could push it out to a cache somewhere that you can retrieve it from. If the endEdit method is called, then the idea is you can just discard those original values. Think of that as a commit in a transactional type of system. You're basically saying that I have successfully ended the edit operation, and so I should go ahead and keep those values around that have been modified. But if you want to back things out, the member you're going to implement there is called cancelEdit. And this is where you would basically get those original values and overwrite the current values of all the properties with those to restore the state of the entity back to what it was when the beginEdit method was called. Again, these are going to be called implicitly for you by a data grid if your object supports it, but you can call them explicitly in other editing scenarios as well to get this kind of transactional back out of changes at an entity level. And we haven't covered datasets yet. We will later in this module, but I should point out that datasets implement iEditable object for all the row objects. So they inherently support this API as well. So let's take a look at a demo of how you can implement iEditable object on your entities and the scenarios where it can help you out.